Work your magic.
Try it before.
Okay, let's see.
Because if you like sweeter, like we can modify it. All right?
I've met the man.
I met the man. I get it back.
That's perfect.
You know, it would be great if this was on camera, but okay.
Yeah, no, well, yeah.
Well, we'll try. We'll try anyways. I thought you were trying to boost the sales of that drink over here.
You know what? I didn't realize. You're right. I am. No, I'm just kidding. It is as far as whiskey tariffs in Europe. I don't think there's currently a tariff on
bourbon.
On bourbon. So, if America were a dog, do you know what kind of dog we'd be? The defense minister kind of goes, I don't know. I have no idea. He said we'd be the Great Saint Bernard. You'd look at your door, we're loyal, we're wonderful and everything, but you let us in your house, we're gonna break your furniture and slobber all over you.
Mr. Ambassador, thank you for accepting our invitation to come to Observador Summer Sessions. You are very welcome here. And I gather that you chose a whiskey sour. Kentucky bourbon, specifically.
Kentucky bourbon, always, and a whiskey sour. And here it is.
And it is.
Okay. Jim Beam, a great American there. It's,
okay.
Cheers.
Cheers.
What do you think of the whiskey sour?
Well, I like it, but I was wondering why did you choose that drink?
Well, other than the fact I love the taste of bourbon, but I'm not probably supposed to say that. It's one of those. It's a summer drink that you can drink with dark alcohol. And you know, it's one of the few alcohols that really has somewhereness in America. Kentucky bourbon can only be made in Kentucky. And so it is, you know, it's a piece of Americana. It's been tough to find a good whiskey sour though.
Well, maybe it's going to be tougher to get bourbon whiskey in Europe.
Yeah.
There's a tariff imposed on that. I thought you were trying to boost the sales of that drink over here.
You know what? I didn't realize. You're right. I am. No, I'm just kidding. It is as far as whiskey tariffs in Europe. I don't think there's currently a tariff on
bourbon.
On bourbon. So
it was imposed on the 26th, right? No.
Not to my knowledge. No, I don't know.
What do you think of those tariffs applied by the European Commission on U.S. products in retaliation for
what was going on before? I think it's interesting more to talk about really what the agreement that came out of Juncker's meeting with President Trump, and the talk about how the partnership between the EU and America can work forwards. It represents half of the GDP on the globe between the EU and the United States. And as long as we're working in partnership together and moving forwards on that with free, fair, and reciprocal trade, only good things can happen.
How is that going to benefit Portugal? Because there was a specific mention to the liquid natural gas on that statement.
Yeah. And that statement was there for Portugal and for us in what we've been doing here in Portugal. Liquefied natural gas and the importation of U.S. LNG into Portugal, and the formation of Portugal becoming a hub for Western Europe for gas is one of the biggest opportunities Portugal's had in decades.
But is it losing steam or not?
No, not at all. It's just we're merely at the beginning of that. When it comes to energy, unlike technology, my background's in technology, my background's in Wall Street, it goes like that. It goes in seconds. When it comes to energy, things move really slowly. What's going on with LNG and what's going on with Portugal is happening in that world, in the energy world, incredibly fast. That means it's 2 or 3 or 4 years in the making. I can tell you that the majority of LNG that's come into Europe has come through the Port of Sines. We want to keep it that way. Anytime you have a state-owned entity, I would never suggest a country come in and own a critical infrastructure piece of another country, whether it be the US government owning Portugal's electrical grid or electrical supply, whether it's China, whether it's anyone else. It's a dangerous aspect, it's a dangerous road to go down to have another country control a critical infrastructure piece.
Nevertheless, Portugal has done it. I mean,
well, no, they've sold pieces, but they've never sold an entire structure before. This is the first time. That's why this is different. To own 25% of Galp, to own 25% of EDP, to whatever you want, that's fine. Those are investments, and they can create influence, and entities can have influence. And also, I want to make sure that that we recognize the difference between a state-owned entity that's run by a government and an investment made by an investment fund or an investment partnership or a company. They're completely different. And so these are state-owned entities of the government of China investing in the infrastructure of Portugal. Now you have the difference is now you have one buying a complete company. And that company also has a large asset in the United States in their renewable energy piece. And they're the third largest renewable energy supplier in the US. That piece is not going to go with this deal.
Have you expressed those concerns to any Portuguese authorities? Or?
You know me well enough now. Of course I've expressed those concerns. And we've done it privately and we've done it publicly. And so we've had discussions at every level of government.
What was their take on this?
Well, it is like all things in government, it depends. In one sense, it is from a sense, it is capital, it's new capital investment coming in. I think certainly there always is concern as to who and what, but the Portuguese, this government feels that they have a long history of transactions with specifically China. And so they're maybe a little bit more comfortable with this situation than we are.
Okay.
Hence the cautionary tone.
Getting into your first year, what's been going on? What are the plans for the second year?
Yeah.
And what has been accomplished in the first year?
I don't even know where to start with that. In the last 12 months, we have the NATO 2% commitment. We've moved forward on NATO on the defense side. We have a record number of exercises. We have, between the two countries, we have deployments in partnership between the US and Portugal, whether it's Lithuania, Afghanistan, Iraq. On the economic side, you just have, between our conversation on LNG and what that means, but not just that, on every sector. When I look at it as a businessman, I kind of go down by sectors. Technology, Google, Amazon, when you go to biotech, you've got United Healthcare, everything going on at Porto, Web Summit. There's just been tremendous moves forward as far as U.S. economic interest in Portugal. But this meeting between our two presidents, being able to introduce President Marcelo to my president, President Trump, is the first official visit in the White House between two presidents of our two countries in 20 years. That's a magnificent move forward, and it doesn't just go there. We've had the foreign minister meeting with Secretary of State twice. We've had the defense minister has met with Secretary Mattis multiple times.
Can that translate in more U.S. investment in Portugal?
This is the tip of the spear. I think Secretary Mattis, in his conversation with the defense minister Lopez, made a very interesting, very funny comment. And there's actually a picture of me kind of looking at him sideways, trying to figure out what he's saying. But he said, if America were a dog, do you know what kind of dog we'd be? The defense minister kind of goes, I have no idea. He said, we'd be the great St. Bernard. You'd look at your door, we're loyal, we're wonderful and everything, but you let us in your house, we're gonna break your furniture and slobber all over you. And that is, and so it's, if you look at On the
Did you find it
economic
funny?
side, what I'm trying, I thought that was funny.
No, the
Oh,
first
yeah,
minute, did
no,
you find it funny?
Once we figured out where he was going with it.
Okay.
But I think if you look at someplace like the Azores, who was looking for an economic boost, and America, you know, being able to provide that, with just the Delta flight coming in 1 day a week, once a day, 5 days a week, is dropping off roughly 1,000 Americans in the Azores a week. That represents probably $6–7 million this year, and only more to come. And you talk about, you know, really what that means for a place like the Azores. I'm not sure they have enough beds to take care of everybody. It's not going to be long before, I mean, we'll be slobbering all over. In the last 3 years, literally, I think the numbers go from in the 300,000s of Americans coming to Portugal in a year to over 1 million this year. And that's significant, and it's not stopping. And so we don't see any stop or any slowing of that trend going forward. So.
Do you think that has something to do with Madonna, one of your neighbors? You tweeted about her.
Yeah.
You made a recent tweet about her. Do you find it strange that the sort of red carpeting that she gets in Lisbon or not?
No, you know, I mean, everybody loves a
Did
celebrity.
she ask you for a favor in the embassy or not?
No. She's been into the embassy a couple of times, and we're here to help. And you know, actually, we did invite her to a party. As I look over the shoulder here,
and she didn't make it.
Nope, she did not. She did not make it. It was actually, we did a Madeira lace fashion show and everything that she was invited to. And I just thought it'd be neighborly, you know, invite everybody in the neighborhood.
And she didn't.
And she didn't come.
She wanted none of it.
I mean, let's face it, she's a very, very famous celebrity, and I don't think she's taken advantage of anything. I think she's taken what's been offered. I was gone, and I came back and was doing an interview and heard about the parking spots. I can tell you my emotion in that when I heard that for the first time was, I'm jealous. I would love 17 parking spots, but I don't have 17.
Maybe
so.
you could ask the...
Yeah, I'd have to borrow some if we have a big party down the street.
Do you think they would give it to you? I mean, she's the most famous American in Portugal. You're probably the most powerful American in Portugal.
Yeah, we could probably, there's a deal in there somewhere, I bet. We could figure something out.